Hello, big boys and girls, parents and grandparents, and everyone interested in AI and robotics. I am Anastassia, and I spent 30 years in technology and business working for organizations such as Munich Re, Daimler, McKinsey, T-Mobile, Deutsche Telekom, and Qualcomm. I'm an AI professor, and I taught AI cybersecurity and AI ethics in Potsdam and Innsbruck, educating countless students and adults about the advantages of AI, implementation hurdles, and economics. I gave keynotes about AI in front of United Nations, Dun & Bradstreet, Women Corporate Directors, Columbia University, and Team Forum. And here's my podcast, AI Snacks with Romy and Roby, the show for technology muggles, not wizards. My program translates technology from difficult to easy to understand. Today, I have a solo episode, and I will offer you an easy to understand picture of generative AI. We will talk a lot about generative AI technologies because those are quite widespread and tremendously important, and there are a lot of speculations about how to use them and whether these are risky. Besides, I will talk about a book called Klara and the Sun. I can't recommend this novel enough for adults and for children. This is a fabulous writing by a Japanese author, and actually, it teaches us that sometimes we are seduced by the fluency of a technology and discover that it has some deficits later on. And last but not least, I am going to introduce you to a book called Time to Parent. This was a very important book for my own parenting. I learned tons, especially because I felt quite guilty for leaving my daughter alone and traveling and working that much. So let's now move to the generative AI technology. So I would like you to picture a house with 3 rooms. And imagine now that you employ an art counterfeit. This guy is talented and he is making paintings in the style of, let's say, Marc Chagall. But this artist is not perfect. So he sits in one room of the house, and you call this artist the generator. But there is a second room where you employ another guy who is a police officer and who is trained to detect counterfeit art. He inspects pictures closely and determines whether they are original or came from thieves. So you will call this guy a discriminator. And then you have a third room. And in this room, there is a fabulous collection of authentic masterpieces of Marc Chagall, which you only show to the discriminator, so he learns the techniques of Marc Chagall. And then you ask your artist counterfeiter to make a bunch of fakes. So you have a choice to either bring one of his fakes to the discriminator to inspect, or you can bring one of the real masterpieces which he has not yet seen. The discriminator will try to determine each piece presented to him. So he can shout fake or real. When he's correct and identifies a fake, you go back to the counterfeiter, to the artist, and bring him the bad news. And then you ask him to improve. You do it all over again until the policeman or the discriminator is wrong. It means that he thinks that the fake piece is a real piece of art. So here comes something really important. You tell the policeman or the discriminator that he is wrong if he is really wrong. And then you instruct him to improve his detection techniques. So he might adjust something and his method will become better in detecting the fakes. And then he starts getting all of them correct again. So there is an internal competitive arm race, which accelerates until you have an impressive collection of counterfeit pieces of Marc Chagall. So this technical process creates an algorithm that can't even tell his own fakes. And it presents a paradox of a third-party agency like a social network administration algorithm being able to easily detect what is right and what is fake. So there are countless examples of generative AI. I particularly love the Beethoven 10th Symphony. If you have never heard about this piece of music, go to Spotify or to other music platform and click on Beethoven 10th or Beethoven AI project. It's a fabulous piece of music, but here is an important thing. It took the team 3 years to create it. A composer called Walter Wertzover spent 3 years in first curating the database, so really collecting Beethoven originals and the original from the Beethoven time. And only then an AI guy started to train the model with this data. So if now you hear that you will be capable to write like Leo Tolstoy, you should expect to spend a couple of years curating a database with Tolstoy writings. You might study who influenced Leo in his art, and then you will actually write with him. Generative AI is interesting because it creates a river of synthetic data. Sometimes these synthetics are tremendously important. For example, they can close a gap if we simply don't possess enough data. At the same time, those synthetics could be harmful because they will be used by cyber criminals, creating fake faces or even fake people and fake identities. In one of my next solo episodes, we will spend some time and talk about the risk of generative AI. But go ahead, explore DALL-E or a website called thispersondoesnotexist.com. You will learn a lot. Let's move on and discuss Klara and the Sun. This novel was published in March 2021. So the writer is Kazuo Ishiguro. It is a dystopian science fiction. And once again, beautiful writing, fantastic content, and I can't recommend it hard enough to everyone who loves literature. So the story's narrator is Klara. It's a solar-powered artificial friend or android. And Klara is being chosen by Josie, a sickly child, to be her companion. So what is the plot? In the novel, some children are genetically engineered So they're called lifted children, for enhanced academic abilities. As schooling is provided entirely at home by on-screen tutors, opportunities for friendships and socializations are limited. So those parents who can afford it buy androids as companions for their children. So Klara is such an android. She is exceptionally intelligent and observant, but here comes something really interesting. Klara's world is limited. So first, we discover Klara in a store for artificial friends. From the window of the store in which she is for sale, Klara learns about the world outside, and she watches the sun, which she always refers to as he and treats as a living entity. Klara is solar powered, so the sun's nourishment is of great importance for her entire life. On one occasion, she notices that a beggar and the dog are not in their usual position. So they are lying on discarded bags and they don't move. So for her, it seems obvious that they have died. And she is surprised the next morning to see that they are living and that the sun has saved them, so she thinks, from death with a kind of a special nourishment. So Klara sees from the window something she fears a lot. And this is a machine with the name printed on the side of the machine, coatings machine. And it stands there for several days, spewing out pollution and blocking the sun's rays. So this coating machine is obviously an enemy and a source of sadness and of evil. So one day, Klara is chosen by a 14-year-old Josie. Josie lives with her mom, and soon after joining the family, Klara learns that this lifting process comes at some risks. Josie had an older sister, Sal, and she died very early. Josie seems to be gravely ill herself. Josie has a friend called Rick, a boy of about her own age. Rick is clever and capable, but he has not been lifted like other children. And for this, he faces discrimination and reduced career prospects. In spite of this limitation, Josie and Rick decide that they will be together forever. So from Josie's bedroom, Klara has a very good view on sun's progress across the sky. She comes to believe that he, the sun, goes to his nightly rest within a farmer's barn that stands on the horizon. With Rick's help, she makes her way there one evening, and she is surprised not to find the sun's resting place there. Still, she is begging the sun to bring a special kind of nourishment to Josie to save her life from the great illness. And in return, she offers the sun to damage and destroy the evil coating machine spewing pollution to cloud sun's rays. And then there is a very interesting turn of the events. Josie's mother unexpectedly asks Klara to imitate Josie. which, due to her exceptional observation powers, can do. So the mother regularly takes Josie to sit for a portrait. And what Josie does not know is that the artist is actually not making a painting, but a highly accurate android body. So the mother intends that Klara will integrate her intelligence into this new body if Josie dies. So Klara would take Josie's place. So when Klara accompanies one day Josie into town, she destroys the coating machine, damaging her own abilities. Josie's conditions worsen, and the son does not respond to Klara's prayers. Klara goes back to the barn and pleading with the son, reminding the son of Josie and risk genuine love. And several days later, when Josie is more or less near death, the dark clouds lift, part, and the sun shines into the room, sending the special nourishment to the sick child. Josie seems better, and over following months, she recovers her health. At the end of the book, Klara is in a place for old and not used androids. She's no longer able to move around. She spends her day thinking about Josie and Rick and the mercy of the son. The manager of Klara's old store visits, and Klara tells her of happy memories and of the son's great kindness towards the child. To my knowledge, in 2020, Sony's Pictures acquired the screen rights to Klara and the Son. And there will be a movie. I can't wait to see it. Jenna Ortega was cast as Klara, and there are two new actors who are asked to play Josie and Rick. And then there is a music album called Shapes in My Head. It's by Sun Law. I will put the information into this show notes. It's fabulous piece of music you can listen to. And the composer was highly inspired by the novel, by the narrative. And he was thinking about how AI could become part of people's life, especially in situations such we witnessed a couple of years ago. I'm talking about the COVID pandemic. So the book truly touched my heart. And it did so in several ways. First, I thought about great science and Jennifer Doudna and her own book, A Crack in Creation, which discussed CRISPR technologies. So CRISPR had already been used to experiment on the genomes of human embryos. So I immediately thought about those lifted children in Klara and the Sun. The prestigious journals Nature and Science declined publishing manuscripts of such experiments, but the journal Protein and Cell described such an attempt about a gene responsible for producing beta-globin, a part of the hemoglobin protein that carries oxygen through the human body. This experiment was carried out in China at Sun Yat-sen University in Guangzhou, at the lab of Yunju Huang. So then there was another wonderful writing I was thinking about while reading Klara in the Sun. And it's, of course, Huxley, and how he imagined a future of genetic castes in his chilling novel, Brave New World. And then my thoughts turned to the Klara itself, a perfectly unperfect AI. So I would absolutely love to know, if you read the book, what is your impression on those androids who are characters? It was breaking my heart to read that Klara is retiring in a barn for old androids. And it made me think about life itself. If life is information processing, then Klara was very much alive. Klara understood emotions, something what the most of contemporary AIs can't grasp. Klara was observant, and this is a task for many AI which are currently in development. And apparently Klara deeply loved her friend Josie, and she cared deeply for Rick, the boy who was not lifted and enhanced. So the book made me wonder how we might treat our robotic companions, let's say 60 years from now. So once again, check this book out. Information is in the show notes, and write to me. How did you like it? And now, let me go to the parenting snack of today's episode. And this is a book called Time to Parent. So imagine someone is offering you a job with a huge title, and there are massive expectations, but there isn't any job description. So they, whoever they might be, just want you to follow your instinct. They tell you, well, you will be a natural in this job. Would you take it? Very few people would. And actually, this job is parenting. Parenting is the biggest job in the world, and probably is the most challenging job in the world, the most noble job in the world. And it's completely ambiguous. There isn't any blueprint or an instruction manual or a job description on how to do it. So the years we are raising our children are the most stretched years of human life. And probably no one would ever dispute this. So the author of Time to Parent thinks about how to actually describe what this job of parenting is about. And first, she divides it into two parts: raising a human being and being a human. And then each of those has certain components. So to raise a happy, healthy human, we as adults need to divide our time between 4 components or 4 activities. So first of all, we must provide for our children. So we need to work to make a living, to manage money, to pay for the things that kids might need. So we have to arrange logistics for our kids' lives. And believe me, this is tremendously time consuming. And then We have to spend time relating to our children. And this is about getting to know them. They aren't copies of us, even if we sometimes recognize ourselves in them. They are the unique individuals. And then we have to teach our kids values and life skills so that they can succeed in the world out there. And as adults, of course, we are responsible for our children's well-being, but also we are responsible for our own mental health and well-being. So we must spend time on sleep. We need to rest our bodies and our brains. So our brains need this rest to remain creative and patient. And then it's great if we spend time on physical exercise. And so those 4 buckets of activities seem quite demanding and time-consuming. So how can we decide on how much time of undivided attention do our kids need from us? And when I heard about the answer, because first I learned about this book in a public lecture, this answer surprised me tremendously. Kids thrive on so-called short bursts of undivided attention delivered constantly in short bursts in like of 5 to 15 or 20 minutes at a time. I am not talking about big blocks of time. And those bursts of attentions are delivered occasionally. Actually, kids have short attention spans, and many experts say calculate about a minute for each age of life. So in my case, my daughter is currently 15 years old. It's about 15 minutes. So actually, this book liberated me from my perpetual feeling of guilt. And since then, I gifted this book to, I think, 7 or 8 new parents. I think you will enjoy it. And the book, I guess, will give you a new perspective on how to take care, not just of your children, but of your own needs. So these were my topics for the week. Think about what generative AI means and how it does work. I hope you enjoy Klara and the Sun. Read it with your teenage children. And I did it with my daughter. She absolutely loved it. And since then, gave this book to multiple friends. Buy yourself a copy of Time to Parent. And remind yourself that you are actually wonderful. Even if sometimes you feel like everything is melting around you. So next week, I will interview Simon Hietländer, a physicist and a researcher from the University of Salzburg. We will talk about a hugely important technology in AI called reinforcement learning. This method in AI powers countless applications and services. And next week, there will be another reading from Romy and Roby and the Secrets of Sleep. But before we meet again, please visit my website, www.romy-roby.com. romyroby.ai, and my Patreon account. I hope you consider pre-ordering my first volume, Romy and Roby and the Secrets of Sleep, because those pre-orders help me writing and they actually fund this very podcast. I am immensely grateful for your time. Goodbye for now, and let's make AI technologies transparent and beneficial for all of us. Thank you.